Yeah, hi guys. Um, this is gonna be one of a few series that I'm gonna be doing on just a few topics to talk about, go on here, and the more we do this, the more we can talk about different topics, the more we can talk about certain things that are, I don't know, that you have questions about, certain myths, certain ways of training, even ways of eating. We can talk about nutrition. We can talk about whatever things that you may think that might be applicable to you, that you might have questions that you might have heard. I would like to use this time to just kind of address those few things to the best of my knowledge, and with enough time, probably research it, put a little thought into it, and then give you my perspective when it comes to training musical theater actors, dancers in the realms of performance, right? In the realms of performance and health. And so today, what I want to focus on a little bit is training, or how you train while you are in the middle of auditions, or while you are aiming to start getting ready for auditions. So let's just pretend you're here, you're ready for auditions. As right now, a lot of people might be kind of hearing some callbacks. I know there's a few things that changed, and you're having a lot more of the callbacks and a lot more of those interactions via video, right? You're sending self-tapes, you're sending all that stuff, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't, or you ought not maintain some of the fitness strategies that we encourage, or that I encourage so much for you guys, in terms of your health, in terms of your performance, in terms of how you prepare for in-person auditions, because ultimately you will have to stand in front of them again. You will have to stand on top of a stage and perform and show that you are capable of doing all these things. So ideally, what we're trying to do here is split different types of training into your different categories or phases, from your off season to preparing for a show, maybe auditions, and then preparing for a show. In this case would be, right, you have your auditions, then you're preparing for a show. Let's talk about / rehearsals, and then while you were in the show, and then also post-show, right? How do you recover? How do you do those things? So those are different themes that we'll be talking about. Today we'll just focus on really just a portion where you are more applicable to in an audition time. This could also be kind of overlapping a little bit with you preparing for a show, because ideally what would happen is, what we're looking at this time is looking at preparing you in a way that at any moment, ideally, you could be got lucky and then get a call back and you could book something, right? So we're talking about, while you're in your audition time, maintaining yourself at a level of fitness, at a level of performance and health that is not gonna detriment your daily life, but also allow you to, on call, just turn it on and go for it. So this applies for mental status all the way to physical status. Ideally, what I'm going to be talking a lot more today about is going to be physical status. You're part of that, but they both go hand in hand. So let's not kind of put that away, or just throw it in a drawer and lock it up. So we'll just kind of focus a little more on your priorities, or what you should be doing while you're auditioning, training wise, preparing yourself physically, so that when that day comes, so that when you're in the middle of audition, so that when you get up to a point and you get a callback, you feel confident, you feel ready to go, and you know how you should be. If you are auditioning right now, training right now, or if you're about to you're thinking about preparing for auditions, you're thinking about that December, January time, or the upcoming months, how you should be kind of approaching those times, right? So let's get going with it. So the first thing I like to think about here is I like to kind of keep in mind that your craft, your specialty is gonna dictate a lot of this. What a male dancer will prepare for or will do during auditions is gonna be a little different than what a female dancer will be doing, or what a musical actor, singer is gonna be doing, right? But ultimately, there is a all over encompassing, like a bigger encompassing bubble where everybody is part of, and that is performing. A singer dancer is gonna have some similarities, some overall overlap, be it with a dancer singer, right? whether you're a specialty singer, whether you're a specialty dancer, there will be some overlap in the movement. There'll just be some details that we might change that might be more applicable to what you want to do. So defining your priorities is going to be super, super important when you come to this time. Priorities being the health side of it, looking at your joints, looking at your movement, looking at you being able to move well while you are training, while you are dancing, and while you're outside, be able to kind of get in and out of positions, be able to feel no pain in your joints, no pain in your landing, no pain in your lifts. If you're a male dancer or someone that's going to be working with a lot of props or lifting, you want to be able to make sure that health-wise, your priorities are set and you are good. You are okay. You are good to go on that side. So that will be my first priority on the health side. Now we're looking at the performance side. You want to make sure that you're looking at your stamina at this point, right? Your priorities on stamina, specifics of of what movements you will be doing. You will be able to address. You should be addressing that a little bit more right now, right? Where you are, if you're talking about your stamina, well, we're talking about you being able to, if on a dime all of a sudden you get a callback and you have to go in person, well, you gotta be able to respond to what they're gonna ask you there. Even if it's, whether it's a 5-second callback or 5-second just in front of a dancing, to, it could be a thing that is a little bit longer, right? Let me say hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, on the spot, dancing different times, different kinds of, I guess, choreographies that they send you, that they ask you to do in front of them, or even just saying, you know what, you just got the job, we need you to start right now. So the ability to say that you have the stamina and the confidence to say you have the stamina to last those 8 seconds, that minute, those 5 minutes, or that hour, whatever it is that you're gonna be doing, and then overall lasting the whole week that you want to be doing, because ultimately you're looking at performing or rehearsing with the progression of things, rehearsing multiple times a week, then moving into dancing and performing multiple times a week, right? So we're looking at being able to keep your stamina, build the stamina, and more importantly, really make sure that if you don't have that stamina, at this point, we are looking at where we want that stamina to be, right? So after that, we're looking at your movement specificities, sorry. And by that, we really want to focus on saying, if you are going back to like the craft idea, right? Looking at, if you're a female dancer, what are gonna be the movements more specific to you that you're gonna be doing? Are you gonna be lifting a lot? Probably not. You probably won't be lifting too much. So it's important to focus on the upper body and then and the health of your scapula. Yes, it is, but is it gonna be important to say, let's make you really strong upper body wise? Probably not. So we will be looking more like be able to respond, land, jump, and be able to absorb, or be able to hold posture, hold certain positions for a lot longer, looking at your internal rotation, external rotation, making sure that you're able to turn out, make sure that you're able to switch directions properly and well, right? Be able to like make sure your ankles, calves, feet, hips are moving and are working properly, are able to go from one to the next, right? Able to go from a, in this case, being able to be, if you're extended, be able to go from a counter notation back into counter notation. So we're talking about flexing, extending properly, going from one to the other as you move through this, as you're looking to explode. And then if you're a male dancer or a male singer and you're gonna be, or you're an ensemble, you're gonna be a lot more, maybe you're a swing, you're gonna be asked to do a lot of different things. And for that matter, we may be looking at possibly more upper body, right? If it's movement specifics that you're going to be pushing a lot of props, you're going to be moving a lot of props, you're going to be lifting a lot of people, then we're looking at perhaps on the male side of things, the male performers, we're looking at building your upper body, making sure that we have the strength, we have the ability to press overhead without having to compromise back, lower back, shoulders, wrists, all that stuff. So again, getting your priorities is super, super important from the very beginning when you're looking at this, because you want to make sure that you are not working on something that right now is not really a priority, really it's not important. Or even, and this also applies, by the way, to aesthetics. I'm not a big let's shoot for aesthetics person, because I think I'd rather focus on being able to feel confident that you can perform and do the things that you're being asked for, and let the aesthetics come as a result of what we're doing, what you're doing, as a result of who you are, as a result of what your body wants to be and what you want your body to look like. But right there is certain aspects, certain roles that are required. So we're talking a lot more principles, more specifics. We're looking at perhaps there's certain aesthetics that you have to meet. In that case, we have to like focus more on that. But for the matter of today's conversation, really just looking at your priorities health-wise and your joints to performance, right? We're gonna make sure that this pendulum is constantly swinging back and forth, and we're not just stuck on one side of it, but we're able to kind of hit one side and then go back to the other. So then we're looking, the next thing that we're gonna start focusing on during this period of time would be increasing perhaps, the question actually that is, do we want to increase strength? Do we want to increase stamina? Do we want to increase adaptability? Or do we want to maintain it? I think we're looking at right now, you're saying, it could be two extremes, right? We could be looking at, let's say you took the proper training before this, let's say you took the proper time to prepare yourself to move, to do the things you were supposed to have been doing, and right now you feel confident, you're at a maintenance level. So best case scenario, you reach your auditions, you're at a point that you're happy with what you are, you're at a point where you're happy with the stamina that you have, you're at a point where you're happy with your body, with how you move. Well, we're looking at maintaining you there. How do we maintain you there? Well, we're looking at keeping you there consistently, right? Without losing or compromising your other side, your craft, your singing, your dancing, all that stuff, without compromising your ability to move well, your ability to move in an expressive manner, on the way you're supposed or you ask for when you're on stage, in the way that makes you on stage. So we want to maintain you, we want to maintain your peak fitness so that when the moment comes, you're able to showcase this. That's the goal here, is be able to keep you at a point that you can showcase who you are and what your abilities are. And with that, in order for that to happen, we're really talking about maintaining or building up your confidence, right? We're looking at confidence on stage, confidence on, like, in the room, confidence in your approach, every single part of, from the moment you walk into that room preparing to the moment you step on that stage and the moment you leave that audition room or that theater, wherever you are going to be. It's being able to gradually hold yourself or adequately hold yourself and showcase that confidence and let the confidence come through and let you just do what you are best at doing, show what makes you so different and makes you really shine, or let's just, to not be as corny or as like I'll use those kind of words, just really allow you to come through, right? Without having to worry about whether you're ready or not, without having to think about that last injury or having to think about that last hamstring or knee or ankle or like slight little thing that you might have in the back of your mind. Those are the things that we're looking at keeping, and those are the things we're looking at building. So if we're talking now at the worst case scenario that you're like, oh my god, I haven't done absolutely anything, what do I do now that I'm in the middle of auditions? Well, you want to look at a balance. You want to build, but we're not going to over train you. We're not going to overspend your energy or overspend your ability of what you have access to. So if we were to say, I love using the analogy of a bank, of a bank account. If you have, let's say, money, right? You have a account, and every day someone is to like drop in money in that bank account, and you have to spend that money, right? You have the ability to spend that money every day, but every day someone's gonna drop in the same amount of money into the bank account. If we take that and we all of a sudden start spending beyond what we're asked, what we have in that bank account, even though they keep putting the same amount of money every day, as we keep progressively spending more and more and more and more, that debt is going to start accumulating, right? We're going to start accumulating negative numbers and more negative numbers and more negative numbers until the point that we can't afford to spend anymore, to the point that that money that they're placing on our account every single day just isn't sufficient to cover what we spent the day before and what we need to spend this day. And on the same token, on the other way, if we underspend, now we're gonna have all this other energy left over that we can access whenever we want. But what we're looking at here during this time is to not overspend, not overuse or overtrain, in this case, your body, so that you're able to dedicate the right amount of time to your movement, dedicate the right amount of time to your craft, to your classes, to your singing, to your voice lessons, to your book, to all the things that you have to do, so that you're ready, you're apt, you're alive when you show up. So the way we start building that, we're looking at building progressively. We're not looking at just going ham and forgetting all the fundamentals. We still want to address the fundamentals. Just because we're building and we're in like a rush, let's call it a rush, to get there, you can't just make up for lost time by cutting corners, by just ignoring certain things. We can expedite things, because luckily for us, everybody or majority of people that are in the music, in the theater industry and in dancers, you are all athletes, and you come from you have an innate ability to move and to recover and to do things. But at some point, we can't ignore some of the fundamentals that apply to your body. We can't ignore some of the fundamentals that will allow you to last that much longer, right? So I would say we have to keep a balance, not only on how you spend, but the balance on how you approach your training. You would probably start thinking about addressing some of the individual things to make sure that we keep that health. Remember that health in the joints, the health in the certain body parts that are more important for what you're gonna be doing. And then pair that up with some days that allow you to be more performative, more athletic, so that we have a good balance and we're able to progress things hand in hand, rather than just throw you in and hope that you're gonna get it. Because then what you're doing is basically you're just basically throwing your body into just like hope you can get it, and compromising what your body might do. And maybe your body will respond, and that's great, but it's kind of putting your body in a risk, putting yourself at a risk that we don't want to be able to. We don't want things to happen at that point. We don't want bad things to happen at that point. So if we're looking at building and we're looking at creating some of that strength or maintaining the strength, a lot of things that we tend to swing towards, or we tend to go towards, are going to be your HIIT trainings and your strength trainings, right? So the other question that we have here is, how much HIIT or how much strength training do I do while I am in the middle of audition seasons, or while I am preparing for auditions? And that's a super important question. That's a really important question, and it's gonna vary, to be honest, with the person in front of me. But overall, I think I am a big proponent for, again, the idea of a balance, of the wholesome, instead of the single parts that make this equation. The equation being your training routine. I can't tell you specifically how much HIIT you should do. I can't tell you specifically how much strength you should do. It's gonna vary upon who you are. But for example, let's just kind of use that a little bit and give you an idea. If we're talking about high intensity training, what is high intensity training? High intensity training is just keeping you at a very high heart rate, where your body is gonna be burning through energy at a specific rate, creating certain chemical reactions that are gonna keep you up here and kind of be burning a lot. And there are gonna be certain fuels your body's gonna be using during that time, certain adaptations you're gonna be doing around that time. And we're gonna put that on this side of a spectrum, right? One end of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum is gonna be your, let's call it more like your typical strength training at a gym, weights, only weights kind of thing. And we're gonna keep that there on the opposite side. Not that maybe they're not that far away, but we're gonna put it there for the sake of this conversation. Because we tend to be, during strength, we tend to associate it with big lifts, a lot of muscle stuff, a lot of gym bros, a lot of things of that nature, and big long rests, and not a lot of heart rate up and down, not a lot of challenge when it comes to that, and a lot of resting, and that's about it. The reality of things is, like, if we look at now those two ends, when we look at your dance classes, we look at your let's just gonna stick to your dance class. Dance classes are some of your choreography, or some of the classes you will be taking for just to prepare for your audition, just to prepare to keep yourself in line, keep yourself still alive and active in that realm. Those are gonna be falling more under the side of high intensity training, because you're gonna be moving a lot. Think of how much you're jumping. Think of how much plyometric work you're doing, how much movement you're doing, side to side bending, leaning down, coming back up, switching directions. There's so much movement and so much quantity of it that you're leaving there, and you're living with this big burst of energy. You're living with this high, like your heart rate's been going up and down a lot, staying up there a lot if you've been doing quick, repetitive, all-out dances. So we can go ahead and say that when it comes to high intensity training or HIIT training, for most performers, we can place your classes, your dance studio classes, underneath that. So to add more on top of that seems a little repetitive to me, right? And if we're talking about an idea that we're approaching the whole, not just a single part, then it sounds like we're missing a little bit of the other side. And that tends to be what I find most common with most performers, is that we're missing this other side that addresses the more nuanced parts of your body, the more detailed part of your body, the more specific things about you. So I'm a bit more advocate of like keeping that balance. And if you're gonna do high intensity training, why not do something that's gonna be more specific to what you're gonna be doing, to what your specific body wants and what your specific craft is, instead of going to a more general class. Of course, there's nothing wrong with going, by the way, there's nothing wrong with going to Barry's or going to any other Rumble or going to any other high intensity class that are like that, or group classes that are gonna be like that. But what I am advocating for is to say, in those classes, you're gonna be doing very, very generic work. Very generic work that is most of the time not even geared towards a specific person such as yourself, being a musical theater actor, being a singer, being a dancer, right? There are certain things that you are asked and you are demanded from you as a performer that those classes are not really going to address that much. And so for that matter, I think that maybe using that particular kind of training when it comes to cardiovascular training and using an option that is more falling under what you're gonna be doing, under what you want to improve, seems like a better option for me and taking better advantage of that. Instead of piling on high intensity training, then more high intensity training, then more high intensity training, and then asking why are my joints hurting, or why are my ankles hurting, or why am I landing weird, or why is my hamstring getting so tight, or my calf so tight? Well, it's because you're overly using them over and over and over and over again in all the different kind of trainings that you're doing. So what I would give somebody is say, right, so if you're doing high intensity, let's put you in your dance classes. Let's see how much dance classes or how many other kind of classes you're doing that are particular to you during a week, right? And let's say that during a week you're doing 2 to 3 classes, you're attending 2 to 3 classes a week. That's great. That's 2 to 3 high intensity classes, 2 to 3 conditioning classes that you're doing that are also very applicable to you, that are keeping you active. Now, on the other hand, we're gonna need maybe one, if that's 3 a week, we're gonna need maybe 1 or 2 strength training classes that are gonna give you the strength and allow you to maintain that adaptability, that strength, that versatility, and the ability to adapt, right? And give your body the balance to that high intensity training, the strength, the all that kind of fun stuff that we're looking at, that we're looking for, the health in the joints. That's gonna give us. We're gonna spend maybe 1 or 2 days on that, so that we are able to balance this, just like all the training and all the things that we do and all the jump and everything that we're doing on one end. And if you are really looking at strength training, we can vary within that in conditioning. We can do a few 40 seconds, 20 seconds off, 40 seconds work, 20 seconds off, 30 seconds, or just set up a timer and just crank out some numbers with exercises that are gonna be some that are gonna be safer. They're gonna be driving the kind of adaptation and the kind of movement that we're looking for, that are gonna be helping, hopefully, creating more balanced a more balanced hip movement, and overall just better movement on both sides of your hip, not just one side of the hip, but be able to kind of encourage better movement from internal rotation to external rotation, right? That's a huge thing that I think a lot of people keep forgetting, and then they don't get, and it's huge for performers. Not to just, you spend a lot of time, you're already in external rotation, but give yourself some internal rotation so that you're able to survive more and live longer in the dance world. So those are the kind of things that I would say. Like, you can always, if you're like, you know what, I just want the strength training to be a little bit different here and there, I don't want it to be so boring, that's fine. We can make that happen. We can add an aspect of conditioning to it, but ideally we're actually going to give you a whole balance to it during your audition time, because it's about keeping you at peak fitness and keeping you overall in all the different categories balanced, right? We're going to keep that not up and down on certain things, and look at the strength. Look how strong I'm in here, but this is not as good, and this is really good, but this is not as good. We want to be able to kind of say, you know what, we've worked on all these aspects that make me this much better of a performer, and this is why you need me, and this is why I'm going to be good at this. So that's looking at some of the ideas on maintaining and building up while you are doing your audition. And I have some ways that I like to, when it comes to me, I'm gonna just give you a couple ideas of when it comes to, like, when I'm training somebody that's either at this time they're like auditioning, actively auditioning. This is not someone that is building up, but it's someone that is already actively auditioning, or somebody that is in the midst of about to start some rehearsals. So we get that overlap there. I like to approach their training a little bit more into the side of throwing in some isometrics, and the reason for that is because I'm able to get the joint health that I'm looking for, while at the same time giving them blood flow, giving them healthier movement through certain positions, and basically illustrate and allow us to take a small time like a picture shot of how you move in specific positions, and be able to work those positions so that if there are any strange movements or any compensations that happen in those parts of the movement, we're able to stop it then and freeze it, correct it, and then allow things to continue, right? So some of the things I like to be doing there is focusing on a few isometrics, assisted movement. So using assisted movements, like using some bands to help you move through it, to allow you, to guide you, or to pull you to certain places, or to give you some resistance, and spending perhaps not so much time at this point. We're not looking at building too much or going so heavy, as much as we're looking at being able to repeat multiple and give you a lot of repetitions on patterns. The more repetitions we have on patterns, the better we are able to set the right kind of pattern and to correct certain patterns, right? So we spend the time in the isometrics, slowing things down so we can look at the issues within a specific pattern. Let's say a squat, let's say a lunge, let's say a jump, a land, anything that's part of that. Spend the time looking at that, we address it, and then we use assisted movement, bands, cables, all that stuff, to help you pull you into the right direction, help you get those movements farther in, allow you to kind of guide you through the movement, and then ultimately use multiple kinds of repetitions on that same pattern so that we're able to now paste that pattern, basically delete the past pattern and put this pattern in instead, so that now we keep that continuous line of movement that we had before, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you just a couple of things here that we're going to be doing that I normally do with some people that I'm training right now, and I love doing this, and they, as much as they hate it, is they'll also come back saying, you know what, this helped a lot, and they're able to kind of find out and be aware a little more of how their body's reacting or what their body is doing during these exercises. So one of the first things that I like to do is make this here, make sure that we can see everything. Go all the way back. Make sure we can see everything here. From there. Now we can see everything. Let's go a little lower. Sorry about that. Let's do this. I think that might do it. Good. All right. There. Cool. So, as we go here, what I like to focus a lot more, and during this time, I like to have most things present, most things being most aspects of training present. The quantity of each one of them is what's gonna vary. So in this case, I never take away internal rotation matters. I never take away internal rotation exercises that are geared for more internal rotation. I just reduce the amount of it, right? So the closer we are to off season, the closer we are to those times that you're not gonna be performing, you're gonna be more resting, more recovering. Maybe I'm allowing myself to give more internal rotation, more things that you are missing, versus the times that you're getting ready now to just be able to be on call or be about to start rehearsals, all this stuff. Maybe at that point I'm bringing you back more towards more external rotation, more explosiveness, more leaning into more, be able to kind of lean into the front and the ball of the feet rather than be able to feel the heel and feel yourself really grounded as much. But either way, I'm keeping you still connected. We're still keeping some aspects of the healthier side so that we're able to move from one to the other, right? That becomes the one connecting factor that I like to keep. So what I like to do is, on a regular squat, get a block. And a lot of people, you'll have a block, maybe you don't have a block. If you don't have a block, you can always use a cushion, you can always use a pillow, a towel, anything like that, a ball, and you will place it right between your thighs, right? We're gonna get, from my case, I like to elevate my heels. I like to elevate the heels on a few people. A lot of times because it allows us to give more space on the bottom end of my feet, so my ankles, so that I'm able to reach a lower or a bigger, broader range of motion. A lot of times what I notice is we get stuck right about here, right? And as I squat, we'll see a lot of this happening, where your butt's kind of going back and sticking out like this, because we are starting at a position of already my butt tucked out, right? So I'm getting a lot of compression here. My pelvis is pushing my butt out, I'm sticking out here, so when I want to go into a squat, what's going to happen is I'm going to start sticking my butt and coming down here. So what I'm doing by elevating my heels, I'm allowing myself to have a little more space to get myself into a more neutral position, where now my hips, my hamstrings, my hips, my ribs, and my head are all stacked up a little better. I create more space on my ankles to be able to get a little lower, get more dorsiflexion, get more ankle, allow my ankle to be able to kind of bend a little bit more, and let those knees come forward and really move throughout the squat pattern. Be able to get my leg to move forward, down, and then within that hip socket. So I get myself up here, heels elevated, squeezing the block, and squeezing because I want to make sure that I'm giving myself that, like I said, that internal rotation. The more I squeeze here, I'm not trying to like break the yoga block, I'm trying just to keep it snug, right? So I'm giving myself some movement there. I'm allowing my femur or my thighs to rotate inwardly a little bit and keep some of that which I am missing, which is that internal rotation. Hold something steady in front of you, and what I like to do is keep the elbows forward, bring the wrist on top of the elbows. So I'm keeping myself there, and then just slowly descend to about 90 degrees. If we stop a little before, that's okay, but we can stop about 90, and we're gonna hold that position there while still keeping that block there. So that block should not be able to move anywhere. I'm keeping myself there, and I'm just holding that position, breathing through it, trying to own that. what we'll see a lot of times is if we're not able to access that, we'll see this happen. And what we're looking for in this exercise particularly is be able to maintain a stack of my hips and my ribs and my head. So we actually want that to be looking more like this, right? Where I'm allowing my hips to get under my ribs and my head, and that allows my femurs to really move within the hip socket and actually follow the movement pattern that it's supposed to follow. So now I'm here, I'm holding, and we're gonna stay there. And we're gonna squeeze, and we're gonna hold that for about 30 to 40 seconds. If you need to come up, that's fine. But you should be able to kind of build some resilience in that, some movement, allow your body to breathe through that so that it gets used to that and can keep building on that, right? Now, the last thing that I like to do is to do a rear foot elevated isometric into repetitions. So I'll use this chair here. My back foot's gonna be elevated. Front foot's gonna be about a foot and a half away. And what I'm gonna be doing is through the front foot, work through the front foot. My back foot's gonna be there only for reference or balance, but my weight's gonna be all on this front foot. I'm gonna feel the ball of my feet and the arch really work without letting my heel come off for this particular one. There are versions where your heel can come off. For today, I just like to keep my heel on the ground, but really feel the front of my foot and the middle of my foot kick in a little more. I'm going to descend to about 90 and keep myself there. Again, hips, ribs, head, all in one line, and just hold. We're gonna hold here for about 8 to 10 seconds. And then immediately after those 8 to 10 seconds, we're gonna go right into reps. So from there, we're gonna go right up into it. And we're gonna get anywhere between 12 to 15 or 20 or however many you're trying to do on that particular day. But what we're looking for is that transition from holding that isometric, getting the muscles, getting the tendons to get that blood flow that we're looking for, and then immediately after, getting some reps in, be able to develop a little more elasticity as well as strength through the movement and the patterns, right? Those are two things that I like to do. Why? Because we're isometrically loading it, while at the same time I'm giving some still movement within the patterns that I'm looking for, and rooting that idea that we want our body to go from internal rotation to external rotation as we go up and down. So those are two things that I like to focus on. If you have any questions, I think that cuts about everything that I've said. It's that makes everything that we were looking at talking about today. Any questions you might have, put them down below here in the comments. Send me a message, anything. Keep your eyes out for what next week will be like. Again, next Thursday, 1 p.m. again, I'll be here. We'll be talking about something else. During the week, I'll send out a message saying what the topic will be, and if you have any questions on that, send them to me. And if you want a topic in particular you want me to hit, just send me a message with that. But I hope this helps you. I hope this kind of shines a little light. It's very general, very kind of superficial, staying on the top. We didn't get too deep on this. I don't want to get too deep on it. If you want something like that, again, send me a message. We can talk a little more about it. But for the most part, this is how we like to do things here. On the surface, this is how we look at it. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more that we want to address. But for today, I hope this helps you, and I hope that you will go into this weekend happy. And if you have any callbacks or if you have any auditions, I hope this prepares you, and I hope you do well. That's about it for me, guys. Take it easy.